Is that, okay, good. So thank you very much for having me out. What I want to do before I dive into the concept of the painted picture is just give you a really quick little bio of my background so you have some idea where I'm coming from with all this. Because I don't want you to think that there's no relationship between a junk or garbage business and the business you guys are running in the financial space. I assure you I'm going to help you make the leap. So before I do, I had the name Cameron a long time before she did. I'm from Van Groovy. This is where I live. This is what I'll be doing this evening. And hopefully you will as well. I spend all my time, or as much of my time, up at Whistler as I can. In fact, I'm heading to Whistler at about 12:15 today. Spend a lot of my time golfing and playing tennis. Love to cook. Really like red wine. Spend a lot of time with my friends. That's actually how John and I met. We went heli skiing last year, or John went heli skiing, and I went heli blowing my knee apart skiing. I'm also a serial entrepreneur. I've grown a number of different companies, not that kind of serial. My first little business was comic book arbitrage. I was about 10 years old, and I learned that there were some kids at our beach up at Thunder Beach in Georgian Bay that had a lot more money than our family did, and I learned if I could buy the comics from my friends and sell them to the kids up at the other end of the beach, I could make 3 to 4x. So I made about $800 one summer when I was 10 years old. And I was biking back. Do you guys know the Morno Sebeco brand? So Frank Morno's family was the family that had the money, so I was selling my comics up to his, and I think it was Bill Morno, his son, that beat me up because he found out where I was buying all my comics from. We're now good friends. I paid my way through first year university by selling wineskins door to door. I went to Carleton because they accepted me. But I realized that you could fill a 3-liter wineskin with a 40-ounce bottle of rum and 2 bottles of Coke. And when you're 20 years old, that's the perfect ratio. A 2-to-1 mix is the perfect ratio. And you can fit a full 3-liter wineskin in your pants, and you can walk right into the football game, and they never checked. So I literally paid my entire way through first year selling wineskins. I got all of my formal business training from College Pro Painters. I was a franchisee for College Pro and opened the West Coast of the United States for College Pro. This is really where I got my real world MBA, and I'm still friends with Greg Clark, the founder, today. At 21 years old, I had 12 full-time employees on my payroll. So when I was in second, third, and fourth year university, I had 2 operational companies with payroll. And I was taking business courses and trying to figure out what the professors were talking about because it didn't make much sense. They were thinking theory, and I was working in the real world. But I also have attention deficit disorder and numeric dyslexia. I transpose my numbers. So when I was writing numbers down, I would flip them. So I was never able to work in your world because it was just too confusing. The numbers kind of would jump off the page in weird sequences. Like I said, I've got attention deficit disorder, so this carpeting is completely freaking me out. I don't know why they do this, right? But anyway, I co-founded the franchising group for Boyd Auto Body and Glass, which we built up. It's now about a $400 million business. I ran another company that we sold for $64 million. Unfortunately, we sold in March of 2000, about a week before Steve Ballmer stood up and said there was an internet bubble. And so I ended up with what you see on the bottom right-hand corner. And then I called home in October of 2000 and told my mom I was going to be a junk man or a garbage man. She wasn't very happy. But I joined Brian, who was my best friend, still is today. I was the 14th employee there. When I left 6.5 years later, we had 3,100 employees system-wide. We were ranked as the #2 company in all of Canada to work for. We twice ranked #1 in British Columbia to work for, yada, yada, yada. So a lot of you have heard of us. So that's part of what I've known for is building some of those companies. Now what I do is I coach and mentor CEOs around the world. I'm doing work in the VC and the angel community as well. So I help make entrepreneurs' dreams happen. What I'm going to do with you today is give you a glimpse in kind of part 1 of how you make dreams happen, and it's called painting a picture and communicating that vision. And in my talk today, there's not going to be any bullet points. You're not going to see a lot of text up on the screen. It's been proven that you can't actually listen and read at the same time. So if you've got text up and someone talking, it's impossible to actually get either of those points. So I'm going to try to burn the concepts into your brain by giving you visual cues, and hopefully you leave today with understanding how some of this stuff works. And I think the graphic illustrator is probably going to go crazy today trying to pull all these images out. So you're going to, yeah, exactly. Good luck. Keep your brain open today. Keep your mind open that maybe I'm right. Maybe for the next 20 minutes, maybe this stuff that I'm going to talk about that comes from comic book arbitrage or College Pro, maybe this stuff is actually relatable to your businesses. Or maybe it's relatable to your business unit. Again, what I typically do is work with CEOs and founders and getting them to paint a picture and communicate it. But I've also done a lot of work globally with big companies like British Aerospace in helping their teams understand the painted picture so they can put a painted picture and a vision in place for the group that they're leading or working with or regional offices. So these concepts can work with you in any part of your business. Interesting, this is a graphic illustration of one of my talks a couple years ago, and you can see the talk that I'm talking about here, this vision, and how it starts pulling into the rest of building a world-class culture. In building your company into a magnet for great talent, or so that investors want to put their money in, you guys have done an amazing job in the BC market. I don't know what the brand is like out east because I'm from here, but I know in this marketplace you've got a really strong brand. This is where it starts, is communicating that vision so that everyone can see and feel what you can see and feel. So the first topic, or the first kind of area, it's actually from chapter 1 of my book, and I think John's got some books to give away today, is called Painting a Picture. The idea came to us from meeting with a high-performance sports psychologist. So this was about 1998 in Vancouver, a group of entrepreneurs, and we met with this guy who would work with athletes and getting them to visualize the performance of their event. And he talked to us about how high jumpers, before the high jump, would be standing, kind of rocking, their eyes closed, and you would watch them and they'd visually kind of go up and over the bar in their mind. That was them being in that moment in their mind, so that when they actually did the jump, they were acting completely on instinct. So we understood that. We still had no idea how to bring it into business. Recent day, Roger Federer, although he didn't do that well yesterday, but Roger Federer will visualize his event. He'll literally, in his mind, walk up to Nadal and say, "Great game," and then walk back to the baseline and in his mind serve it. He reverses the points in his mind so that he can, in the moment, have felt that he's there. This process of visualization is used in sport all the time. Kind of a fun example, when Brooke Shields was getting engaged, or was engaged to Andre Agassi, she wasn't really confident in one aspect of her body. And she put up a picture in their bedroom of the perfect legs. And she every day looked at these legs and thought, that's what I want, and if I have those legs, I'll be perfect for my husband. Unfortunately, Andre ended up breaking up with Brooke and marrying Steffi. The crazy thing is, the legs that were on the wall were Steffi Graf's legs. Brooke Shields had put a picture of Steffi Graf's legs on the wall to focus on, but so did he. This process of visualization works. Okay, so we get it, but we're still not sure how we're going to tie this to business. So we went out and found a business. We found a construction company. I just had Nexus Construction do a big renovation on our home. And when you meet with a construction company or a renovator, has anybody had like a kitchen renovation or built a home? Put your hand up if you've done renovations. So we've all gone through this experience. We don't know how, or I certainly don't know how to throw a hammer or do electrical or plumbing. I'm not kind of wired like John is, all handy with that stuff. But I can understand the vision. Well, with the contractor, what you do is you give them pictures and drawings, and you talk about how the whole space is going to work, and they scribble down ideas, and then they come back to you a couple weeks later, and they have blueprints, or these drawings, these architectural drawings. So what they've done is they rip the vision out of your mind and put a plan together, and then they hand the plan to the employees. And the workers can now recreate your vision because they're working off of the plan. Well, in business, what happens is we don't often give the vision to our employees. It drives me crazy when I hear CEOs or entrepreneurs or even leaders in a business group say, "Oh, Bob just made a stupid decision. Bob doesn't have the same intuition I've got. I have such great intuition." Bullshit. You don't have great intuition. You have the same intuition as everyone else in your company does. The problem is you're the only one who sees the movie. And if we can share the movie with everyone else in our company, they will have the same intuition to draw on as we do. If they can see the movie, they can draw on that intuition. So this process of the painted picture is almost like going in a time machine. 3 years out, go into the future and look around your business or look around your business unit and think about what does it look and feel like, and describe it in vivid detail. Don't describe how you got there, but describe what it looks and feels like so that your employees can see it as well. Describe your meeting rhythms, describe your conferences, describe what the media is saying, describe what the investors are saying, describe what investor calls feel like, describe what your brochures and marketing material would be like, describe the pulse and the energy of your business, describe the relationships of your employees in the offices and within regional offices. Describe what you can see, and then let your employees figure out how to make that happen. Right? Like the homeowner describes what we see, then there's an architect or a designer helps us put the plans in place. So our job as leaders of areas is to dream and let our team figure out the plans. Who's seen the movie The Sound of Music? Put your hand up if you've seen the movie The Sound of Music. Okay, good. David, okay. Who's not seen the movie? Put your hand up if you've never seen it. Okay, now who has no idea what it's about? No idea? I'm going to pick a guy because I can't believe you wouldn't know. So you have no idea. No idea, okay. So the movie The Sound of Music. Now, if anyone has seen the movie, if I said to you, let's go, I need you to go and recreate the picnic scene from the movie, who could do it? Right, a few of us? Now, guy you have no idea, right? So would the picnic scene be by the ocean, or by the park, or up in the mountain? In the park, right. And there would be a picnic basket, or like a food truck, or catering. Picnic basket, okay, and then would they be playing like touch football, or dancing, or croquet? Dancing. Okay, so we got 2 of the 3 right, but it's not at the ocean. It's up in the mountains. Like, how could you be such an idiot? Why do you make such stupid decisions? Right? Why do you make such stupid decisions? Now, it's not his fault, right? If we've seen the movie, of course it's up in the mountains. It's in the Swiss Alps. There's no mountain. There's not even ocean close to there. But he doesn't know. It's not his fault because he's never seen the movie. As entrepreneurs or as leaders of business areas, if we see the movie clearly in our mind and we don't share it in vivid detail, there's no way these people can actually read our minds and create it. One thing that we did in actually building out a painted picture was start to get some of the employees' engagement, some of their ideas involved. We did what we called a Can You Imagine wall. So we actually had these in a lot of our regional offices. We were operating in 330 cities, 46 states, 4 countries, 9 provinces. But this wall was about 3 times as large as what you see. Had things up there like making the Junction a famous tourist destination. Junction was the name of our head office. Or having 1-800-GOT-JUNK as a case study at Harvard Business School. Being on Dr. Phil. Winning a Clio for our TV commercials. Adding our 3rd country. It goes on and on. Being on Oprah. All these things were up on the wall. When we put them on the wall, when we put the visions on the wall, we had no idea how we were going to make it happen. It would be like me saying, you have this room where people can entertain and the light just kind of floods in and it invites people out into the yard. I don't know how to make that room happen, but I know what it needs to look and feel like. Well, with your business, if you can put these dreams up, people will figure out how to make it happen. When we wrote this up on the wall, making the Junction a famous tourist destination, we'd never had a single person come through our offices. Has anyone here ever come to the Junction for a tour at 1-800-GOT-JUNK? Not very many, only 1 or 2. For about 7 years, they've been doing tours there every Friday with 30 to 35 business people from all over North America will come in for tours. They started coming in when we started winning awards as best company to work for. So we're not quite famous yet, obviously, but they're working towards it when they've probably had a couple thousand people now come through for tours. 1-800-GOT-JUNK is a case study at Harvard Business School. I put it up as a bit of a joke because the first business book I remember reading was What They Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School, and I thought, wouldn't it be kind of funny if a guy like me who could barely get into Carleton and a guy like Brian who dropped out of high school and talked his way into college and then dropped out, wouldn't it be cool if a couple guys like us could get studied at Harvard? A guy coming through on a tour, a YPO member from Boston, saw this on the wall and said, are you guys serious about that? You really want to be a case study? And we said, sure. He goes, I know the person at Harvard that accepts case studies. Let me introduce you. That was about 5 years ago. We're now studied by every single MBA student at Harvard, as well as 6 other MBA programs. Because we put the vision out there and said, this is what it looks like. This is where we're going. We're not sure how, but we knew that people would conspire to make it happen. We've been on Dr. Phil probably 16 times by now. We've been on Oprah. We were on Oprah 14 months after putting it up on the wall. We added our 4th country. We actually won the 3rd funniest TV commercial in the world at the Cannes Film Festival after Guinness and Volkswagen about 7 years ago. All these visions were put up on the wall without knowing how. Our job as leaders is to inspire and then attract the A team who can figure out how. I never spoke to almost a single person on our job site when they were building our home, but it's amazing that they recreated the dream. They recreated the dream because we shared it in vivid detail so that the picnics end up in the mountains, not at the ocean. One of the companies that I mentored in depth about 3 years ago is called I Love Rewards. Sounds like you guys use their points program. This is one of the walls from inside of I Love Rewards. It's part of their vision wall. I mentored Razor and his team in depth on culture and PR, on strategic planning, reverse engineering the dream. When you have a dream and you push it out there, people will conspire to make it happen. If you're going to be writing a painted picture, it does. No, but these guys had it kind of right at the same time Lulu did. For sure they ripped it off. My whole, for sure they did. I'm not even going to pretend that it was their idea. Absolutely they ripped it off. My whole thing with R&D, when I was 16, my dad told me that I'd never be smart enough to figure it out, that my R&D had to stand for rip off and duplicate. So, yeah, that's my R. Has anyone seen my TED Talk? I did a talk that's on TED on raising kids to be entrepreneurs instead of lawyers. Have you seen it? Anyway, no, I really did. So anyway, yeah, for sure they ripped that off. It looks exactly like a Lulu bag. If you're going to be writing a painted picture, which I gave you an example of, can I just see one for a sec? What you want to do is you want to take people into the future with you. So the way I start them is with this little paragraph. The following vision, which I call my painted picture, is a detailed high-level overview of what my own business, Back Pocket COO, will look like, feel like, and act like by December 31st, 2013. Sharing it with you here helps it become reality. Hopefully it inspires you to create and build your vision too. I have clients who have written these and they've sent them out to potential customers, and they've landed multi-million-dollar potential customer accounts because the customer was vibrating after reading what the future looked and felt like. Instead of worrying about what you are today, people need to figure out where you're going to be, and that's what they're joining. I'll give you an example. Culture and spirit. My work with CEOs is a relaxing balance of rigorous work, extrasensory overload, excitement, and play. I only work with companies who I want my name attached to. I don't compromise. There's a better one. Profitability. I continue to make a lot of money doing what I do. I have equity and stock options in many of my clients' companies, allowing me to benefit from the upside. I'm semi-retired and continue to look for ways to grow my revenues while continually working less. I'm on track to have enough passive income streams and savings by 50 that I can begin working more with socially entrepreneurial ventures. One client was so thrilled with the results they got from my services, they bought me an Aston Martin to say thanks. I mean, I don't know how that'll happen yet, but I actually have a client in Boston who's about an $80 or $90 million business who read this painted picture and is pretty sure he can get himself on the cover of Fortune magazines for being the guy who was crazy enough to thank his coach with an Aston Martin thank you gift. And he said if he gets that cover of Fortune, it'll be worth the price of paying for the Aston Martin. I'm like, whatever, let's try it out. When you roll that stuff out there, people will figure out how. If you're going to write a painted picture, you've got to get out of the box, though. You can't sit in your office and write this. You've got to go somewhere and be inspired. You can't sit with your laptop and try to pull this all together. You've got to actually go and just allow the juices to flow. So what I like doing is going somewhere where Brian went was the end of his dock on Bowen Island. I'll go up and sit at Grouse, or I'll go up to Whistler and just hang out. Or I'll sit in my backyard in my hammock and put my headphones on and listen to the Grateful Dead and lie down and just take a mind map and an artist sketch pad, and I'll literally do a mind map of all the different things I can see in the future. And when I can see all that stuff happening, then I can come back into the office and write it down and create that painted picture. I give my painted picture, my clients do, to every single person we touch. We give it to our clients, to our prospects, to our bankers, our lawyers, our accountants, every circle of influence on the company. We give it to potential employees. Imagine if potential employees could see what the future looked and felt like, and then they'd join you because of what they could see and not because of what was just currently there. Steve Jobs used to show the prototype of the Mac to his potential employees, and he said if he couldn't see the sparkle in their eye, he didn't bring them in for an interview to see if they could do the job because he didn't care if they could do the job at that point. If they weren't vibrating with what the future looked like, he didn't care if they were the best person in their space. He only wanted the best people who were also completely culturally vibrating like he was. I like kind of, as I said, hanging out in the hammock. But find your place. Find a place that inspires you and kind of pulls out those visions. And spend a little bit of time. It typically takes between half a day and a day to really flesh out enough ideas that you can pull into bullet points and maybe have someone write it to make it pop off the page for you. But if you want to roll out your painted picture, that 2 or 3 pages that describes the future, you got to get out of the office to do it. Be really descriptive. Describe what it looks and feels like. Lots of adjectives and adverbs. This is where the .com world is brilliant at kind of taking us into that future and showing us what's happening. Do that with yours as well. The whole idea of leadership is to inspire, and to attract people who are attached to that inspiration. And then we support them in figuring out how to make that happen. And I assure you it can be done in the finance space as well. Think about what Guinness has done in kind of inspiring people around the world. This was where we got our idea of tours, was watching what Guinness was doing. I talked about the Harvard case study and how our Harvard case study happened by just pushing it out into the future and letting people see and feel that. We talked about being on Oprah. When Brian put being on Oprah up on the wall, by the way, it can't happen anymore. Our last show's done. Like I ever watched the show. We walked into this brand new office at Granville Island. We had a wall about as big as what's right here. And Brian said, so what should we put on the wall that will inspire? And I was like, I don't know, how about 100 franchises? Because we were only in 20. So we're like, yeah, we'll put that up. And he said, no, we need something that's really cool, something different. And I said, how about our logo on the side of the space shuttle? And he's like, that's ridiculous. How would that ever happen? I'm like, we could go up into space. We could haul away junk. He's like, that's stupid. I'm like, all right, what do you got? He goes, how about being on Oprah? I'm like, dude, that's retarded. It's like 23 of us. How is that ever going to happen? He said, wait, let me describe the episode. And he walked me through a visual of the entire episode that Oprah would be covering us. Does anybody see the episode? At the time, we came out really early. We were only in 2003 when we were on. But it was about a 6-minute spot where she mentioned us and talked about us and showed our trucks and our drivers, and constantly. Brian talked about the whole episode and what it would look and feel like, even to the point at the end of the episode, I'm going to walk up on stage and give her a hug. And he did, about 13 or 14 months later, when we were still too small to be on Oprah. But because we had the visualization, people really wanted to kind of work to somehow figure out how, and we made it happen. You've got to get your employees in all the offices seeing the same vision that you can see. You've got to get all of your employees in your business unit seeing the same vision you can see. You want their dreams to align with what you can see. So the way you do that is share that movie with them. The concept is rooted in this idea of conceive, believe, and achieve. You think about a silly one we had. This one of the girls in our office, she walked in one day and she said, could you imagine if on the sides of Starbucks cups there was a quote from 1-800-GOT-JUNK? I'm like, no, I can't imagine. She goes, well, like, I'm like, how will you make that happen? She goes, don't worry about how. She goes, could you see it? And I go, yeah, I guess. Like, we've gotten some pretty cool stuff. She said, can we put it on the wall? And I said, yeah, if Brian's okay with it, we'll put it up. Brian was okay with it. We put it on the wall. 6 weeks later, we were approved to be on 10 million Starbucks cups North America wide for free. But they said, we can't put 1-800-GOT-JUNK. We can only put Brian Scudamore Entrepreneur. And she called them back and said, that doesn't work because on the wall, and she sent them a photo, it said 1-800-GOT-JUNK on the sides of Starbucks cups. So they rented up the flagpole, and Howard Schultz signed off on it. And we were the first brand to be on Starbucks cups North America wide for free. 2 years later, they relaunched again because we allowed people to be inspired by this vision and to commit to the dream and then figure out how they were going to make it happen. One of the most profound business tools that we used was a movie and a book called The Secret. As cheesy as it can be, as materialistic as it can be, who's seen this movie? I would really, really highly recommend that, David, you take this and you show every single person in your entire company. At a conference, spend the hour. It's around the law of attraction, the power of dreams, the manifestation of dreams, how like attracts like. Do you ever notice that first thing in the morning, if you bump into somebody who's got a really crappy attitude, what does that do for your day? Kind of sends you sideways, right? But if you bump into like Mrs. Happy, what does that do to your day? It kind of throws you off happy, right? That like attracts like. As you start getting more and more people who see the vision, you start attracting more and more people that are vibrating with the same energy, like what Steve Jobs did, hiring people that thought they could change the world and create insanely great products and challenge the status quo. Those people end up creating the dream. This movie talks about the physical laws, the laws of physics, of quantum physics, and how they can be brought into business. We showed all of our employees, we showed all of our franchisees, and we would literally take those concepts and help us build the dream. This is how one of my companies that I mentor based in Geneva, this is how Sebastian rolled out his painted picture. He's got 1,400 employees operating in 20 countries in 8 languages. This is how Sebastian rolled out his painted picture to all of his employees.
Hello everybody. We have such a fantastic story to share. We're building a great future together. MCI has always focused on people and relationships as a means to achieving success. We will continue to grow very fast in the future by remaining true to the core ideologies of MCI and by helping our customers to bring people together, to create meaningful connections and win. To continue to grow, we must be aligned and entrepreneurial. We need a plan that leaves space to the richness of our diversity. The plan will continue to bring MCI as a thought leader in the meeting industry to uncover trends and influence changes. We must inspire our customers and bring them beyond their wildest dreams. The plan is called the painted picture. The painted picture is about creating a vivid mental image of the future and bringing it into the present so we can do something about it now. But unlike a business plan, we will be sharing it with as many people as possible. We believe the more people read our plan, the more people will help us make it happen. The painted picture is used as a filter and a guide for all our decisions every day. The painted picture doesn't tell us how we will achieve what we want to achieve, but tells us why we do what we do and what we must build. Today, I invite everyone to read the painted picture. The MCI board committed to reading sections of the painted picture at the beginning of all our meetings. I suggest you do the same. At your quarterly meetings, at your staff retreat, at your business unit meeting, read it again and again. You can find a copy of the painted picture by clicking here and share it with everyone, because when people come together, magic happens.
So imagine how inspired that team of people feel when the CEO of a company based in Geneva rolls this out in 8 languages so that they in their local market can actually read and be inspired. What starts to happen is you start attracting people to your organization like a magnet. You start attracting suppliers and customers and employees like a magnet. And you start to repel people that don't fit as well. There's that quote by Albert Einstein of vision without execution is hallucination. I also think that execution without proper vision is insanity. There's no point in trying to get people to work hard and be focused and get more done and get the right strategic plan in place. If you don't have the proper vision that we can all see, you're just going to go somewhere. You're not going to go where you need. When you get the proper vision communicated like a painted picture and roll it out so everybody can see the same movie, this is what the organization starts to feel like. You're completely aligned. Everybody's going in the same direction. That's all I got. That's vision. Thank you for having me out.
So, Cameron, on behalf of Matrix, I know you said you weren't a numbers guy, but I got a sense you like wines in the upper 90s. So here's a few for you to enjoy.
Awesome.
Upper Whistler.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
so much.
Dude, you rock. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
And I know you only have a few more minutes with us, but I'd like you to be part of just the transition, because now we're going to move into inviting Gabriel to share the painted picture. And I'm already seeing the parallels with Ryan Screwbar. He was on Bowen. Where were you? I already see the parallels with Ryan Screwbar, and he was being able to look at innovation, support innovation, take those risks, not kill somebody because they didn't work. Lots of ideas don't work if they've gone unrecognized. So when I looked at this, I thought to myself, who sort of fit in the exercise? To me, or the best people to do this. And there were two names that came forward. One is the 3M of financial services. And what I meant by 3M is they have a very different approach to that 3M. That treasury notes and all the other stuff that you put in the drawer of your desk, right, along with a lot of other things. They have a rule that they have to, every year, create at least one-third new products. Imagine it. I don't know how many products they do in a year, but it was 100. And they have to do one-third renewal every year. Now, renewal, so you get an unlimited amount of year. You're going to find every year. And the other group was Cirque du Soleil. How many people have seen Cirque du Soleil? Anybody that hasn't seen Cirque du Soleil, put your hand up. Yeah, you guys need to know. The thing that amazes me about Cirque du Soleil, when you walk out of the room after you've watched Cirque du Soleil, you always walk out with one thing in the back of your mind. It is the most unbelievable stuff. You know, I sat there one day and I was watching them. This is a human circus that animals have. And in the human circus, they actually have a piece of trampoline. Now, everybody's seen being on a trampoline. But when they unfolded the trampoline, it broke into three parts. One that was flat, and two that were on an angle. It was a whole dimension to these people flying back and forth and up and down and sideways. And all you think as you watch this is that trampolines have been around for 100 years. They seem not that old. And that's how I would like us to be known. In the venture capital business, people were constantly saying, who thought up the concept? Who thought up the series of shares? Who decided to go into that company? That was our reputation. That's the reputation we need to employ as bold innovators. Secondly, we have always cared about our players. It has always been important to us to do something, do it well, and the reward for doing it well is that it's profitable. And we like to look at things that we're doing, and we like to make sure that those things are done on a rational basis. If we want to take innovation, we also want to tie it to something we do. Profit really tells us whether we have a product that people are going to pay for or not. And so we've always been focused on growing rapidly, and making sure that we make money while we do that. We have a goal, our 5-year goal is $10 billion in AUM by the end of 2015. We have, through this process that we've engaged in today, that we will shorten that 5-year goal to a 3-year goal. So we're going to today talk about how we go from where we are today to 5 years, which will then leave us about 18 months to 2 years to then double again to the $10 billion number as we anticipated. I talked earlier about the commitment to customers. This is all we have. This is what
It corners like it's on rails.
What? What does that mean?
Edward,